what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be tackling a rusty cab corner. First thing we're doing today would have been cut this panel out, which was pretty rusty. Luke has already done that, and if you've watched any of these other videos, we have done a lot of rust repair on this thing, including rockers, inner rockers, and just custom panels. I'll leave all the links to those videos down below so you guys can check that out. I will also leave links down below for this panel so you guys can use it on your own. So starting out, you're just going to kind of want to get a good basic idea of where this thing's going to be going and just play with it from there. Whenever he did cut this thing out, we cut it a little bit low just so we could come in here with our final fitment, start scribing our lines. So right off the bat, I can tell you that this inner rocker portion here, we're going to have to trim just a little bit up because this part right here is going to be this part right here is going to be sitting up here. We'll be drilling holes through here, and that's what's going to spot weld and hold the bottom in place. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, it is fitting up a lot nicer. Able to come in, it's not being held out by the inner rocker portion, so it's still kind of springy here, so probably bend this thing over my knee a little bit. Just kind of try to manipulate it and get it where it's kind of laying a little bit more relaxed in here, because that's the last thing you want it to do is try to be pulling out on this metal, because that'll kind of create what they call like an oil can. So this patch panel we got is a little bit small. Over in here there's still some metal that's going to need to be replaced. So what we're going to have to opt to do is just kind of hand make all this, and hopefully in this video I can walk you through that as well. Get that marked up real quick and then we'll cut out on our old metal here. That was not supposed to happen. Overly worried. So now that we've got our panel all cut in and everything, I'm going to be using these little tools. I've used them in the past, but essentially all it does is you loosen this, not that much, but you loosen this wing nut up to where you can get this little piece of key stock out. This little piece here is going to go in between your two panels that you're fitting up, and then this will go on the back side. Then you tighten that back down and it'll sandwich your panel and kind of give you that nice little lineup that you need. So it looks like we got our panel overlapping here just a little bit, so all I'm going to do to correct that is come right in here with the grinding wheel and just run down through here on the outside of our patch panel. So our existing metal on the truck, I'm just going to kind of wipe that away just a little bit. That way it'll sink in there and everything should be good after that. So everything is fitting up pretty sweet on this thing. What I'm going to do now, pull this all back off now that I can tell that we're going to be fitting up nice on this. I'm going to have to drill the spot weld holes through here because we are going to be drilling and we're going to be welding back to this inner rocker portion right here. Probably do 3 or 4 down through here. That way we tie in real good with this and it keeps that cab corner good and tight. Just a quick up close view before we get going on this. But those are those little clamps I was talking about, and that's exactly what they do. all we're going to do is come in here and basically in between all these, we're going to try to get us some good tacks established. I'm pretty happy with the fit up on this thing. I'm going to get everything tacked up here, then I'll push this bottom in just a little bit after the fact once we get everything established, and then start nailing in our plug welds up through here. So let's get to welding. Helps to have the gauge on. Now that we've got that welded up, we can start by removing the heavies of our weld, and we'll start just kind of trying to blend this all in. And the one thing I do want to stress to all of you out there, don't worry too much, don't get caught up on what your welds look like. I mean, these look like absolute heck, but all it is a series of tack welds, so this thing's not going to be pretty. I get a lot of friends and everything that try to do their body work and everything. They get caught up on what their welds look like, and as you can see here in just a minute, we're about to pretty much wipe all the weld off this thing, so don't get hung up on that. Start things off, I'm just going to actually use my cutoff wheel here, and I'm just going to kind of pull against this, just kind of knock the heavy stuff off. But what I've learned is not to stay in one area too long. Just like welding, if you focus all your heat in one area, it's going to really want to warp this panel. So just kind of hit stuff lightly, like there's a couple little things where a piece of wire got stuck here. And this, I'm just going to kind of go over this just to kind of do that, to knock that kind of stuff down. And then we'll come back in probably with like a little bit of a wafer wheel and just keep moving our way down until we get this thing pretty smoothed up. So we've got our cab corner pretty much as good as I'm gonna get it. There ended up coming out a little bit of a low spot here and also right here. Honestly, I could sit there, hammer dolly all that out and, you know, smooth that thing completely out with 80 grit and make it look perfect, but there's really no sense in it. I mean, I wouldn't even show this kind of thing on like video because I'd be kind of, you know, not that I wouldn't be proud of it, but I feel like social media and everything just kind of tries to make this thing out to be where everything's perfect, and it's not, and it doesn't need to be, because we can do a skim coat of Bondo on this and it'll be ready to go. And that's, especially this truck, I mean, that's all you need. So don't get too bent out of shape if you got a little low spot or something like that. And I'm also not trying to teach you to cover up bad things or anything like that. Sure, if you want to hammer and dolly that out, by all means, go ahead and do it. But for what we've got going on, this will be great. So we got the rocker in tonight, and that's what I'm going to do tonight. But tomorrow night, we're going to come out here, make that other little filler panel I was telling you about. Luke's going to be well on his way to getting this rocker and everything in. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Crap, did I leave this thing on all night long? Man, I'm sorry I kept you guys waiting. Didn't know you were out here all night. Let's get back on this panel real quick. So in order to finish this panel, we're going to need to finish this little portion right here, which you can see our panel itself stopped right here. So we're going to have to make this. Our most complicated piece we're going to have to do is make this little jog right here. You can kind of see there, it's a little bit better of an angle. After working a 10-hour shift today, I had a little bit of time to kind of figure out what I was wanting to do. I think I got an idea. First, we're going to check the scrap bin, make sure I don't have something that would work really good in this situation, but if not, I think I've got a way for us to do this. So let's go check that bin out real quick first. There's the old 64 sitting over here in storage. Actually got that out last weekend, so that was a pretty good time. Alright, so this is kind of my little scrap bin over here. Little piles of metal. I try to keep a bunch of the cutoffs or drops or whatever we don't use, because you never know what you might end up finding that you can use. Like that piece right there might actually be pretty close. We'll take this one. Actually gonna need this too. That honestly might not be too bad of a piece right there. Alright, between these two pieces, I think we can make something work. Alrighty, so we ended up going with the old floor panel patch for the 60-something truck or whatever that this is cut out of. This step is about exactly the same for the most part. It might be just slightly more aggressive than what this is, but that'll be just fine. I mean, honestly, once the bed sits in here, you'll never really hardly see it anyway, so I was just kind of fitting it up on camera, and that step is going to be pretty much perfect on there. So what we'll do, just come in here, try to kind of scrub a line in here, and luckily even these bolt holes that I was kind of worried about having to fill up or possibly turn into a plug weld, they're actually below where we're going to need to be doing our plug welds, so it's going to be fine. So what we're going to end up having to do is probably make us a little bit of a template here out of a piece of paper. We'll apply it to this because it's just going to be too hard to get in here and try to scribe a line and all that stuff on the back. So we'll just make us a little paper template real quick, and we'll transfer it over here to this piece, and we'll be good to go. So first attempt was kind of a failure, so I'm gonna run over there, grab that other piece real quick, and we'll cut another piece, and hopefully we can nail it this time. Alright, so we're all fit up right here. As you can see, I've got quite a bit of overhang hanging off this thing, and that is for a reason. The first one I didn't, whenever I fit it up on here, it was way short up in here and everything, so I just opted to leave this thing extra long, and then once we get a couple tacks established in here, we'll just scribe us a line down here, slice all that off, and then it'll be pretty much bulletproof. But I've got our plug weld holes all in here and everything, and I've got a really nice fit up in here, so I'm gonna cut this thing real quick, hopefully get this thing fit up real tight in here. We can get us a real nice weld, then we can start going into sanding everything, and then we can kind of finally see the finished product of this cab corner. so as you've seen, we just did like the 3-step process. Pretty much just a cut off wheel, just knocked the heavy off, went back with the flap wheel, finished off with some 80 grit, and this is what we ended up with. So you can pretty much barely see where that thing starts. I ended up coming in here and tacking just a little of those highs, or I guess they're the lows technically, as you can see in here. So that'll require just a little bit less filler, but very, very happy with the way that came out. That step worked just about perfectly. But honestly, that's gonna wrap this one up. If you guys have any questions at all, drop them down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.